In this video, we're going to look at how to use the quadratic equation along with solving quadratics and linear equations by substitution. So the quadratic equation, or the quadratic formula, rather, is what's on screen right here. It is negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. The quadratic formula always finds the solution to equations. It will never not find a solution to an equation for you. So it should be your go-to. When you get stuck and you can't figure out what to do and you've identified an equation as a quadratic, when in doubt, quadratic formula. So here's one. So we look and we first have to make sure it is in standard form. Standard form is also known as intercept form because C is the y-intercept. So we identify that the equation we have is indeed in standard form. So then we can identify A, B, and C. So identify A as 6, B is -3, C is -2. And then we simply plug it into the formula. So it is -3 plus or minus square root -3 squared minus 4 times 6 times -2 all over 2 times 6. So it's going to end up being 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus, ends up being plus 48 all over 12. And 9 gives us 57, so we end up with 3 plus or minus square root of 57 all over 12. So 57 is a prime number. So normally we'd leave it here. Actually, that's not true. We'd simplify it so it would be 1 plus or minus square root of 50. Nope. I was right. Normally we'd leave it here. But since the question tells us correct to 3 significant figures, we then have to figure out what the decimal values are. So you would just take the decimal equivalent of 57 and then do 3 plus that and 3 minus that. Where you get x, our first solution, -0.379. Our positive solution, or x2, equal to 0.879. So those are the two solutions. That's how you use the quadratic formula. Now that we have the quadratic formula, we can work on solving equations with quadratics. So what we can look at is where a linear crosses a quadratic formula. So what you do is, just like any systems of equations, you want to set them equal to each other in such a way that you only have one variable, and then solve. That's going to solve for whatever variable you get. So for example, you might solve for x. Then you need to plug those x values back into an original equation to get the coordinates to get y. So let's see what this looks like. So we have 2x plus 2y equals 7. So we have this linear equation. And then we have x squared minus 4y squared minus equals 1. Sorry, that's a typo. And we want to figure out where they cross each other. So at what 2 points or more do they cross? So we have two unknowns, two equations. There's no way to do elimination. So the best way to do it is through substitution. So I'm going to solve for x. Okay, there we go. Now this x is going to go into our other equation. So I'm going to have 7 minus 2y squared over 2 squared. So that's my substitution for x. Minus 4y squared equal to 1. So I'm going to do a bunch of stuff at once here. So I'm going to end up with 49. I'm going to FOIL out the numerator. Minus 28y plus 4y squared minus, so that's all over 4, minus 4y squared equal to 1. Now I've got to get rid of that 4 in the denominator. So we end up with 49 minus 28y plus 4y squared minus 16y squared equals 4. Now I need to get it in standard form so I can solve it. So I need to combine my like terms. So I end up with negative 12y squared minus 28y plus 45 equals 0. I brought the 4 over as well. So there's my quadratic. Is there any number that goes into 12, 28, and 45 that we can make this fraction any, or make this equation any smaller? And I don't see any. So it's good old quadratic formula. So you simply plug that into, let's do that. So negative 28 plus or minus the square root of negative 28 squared minus 4 times negative 12 times 45 all over 2 times negative 12. So we're going to get 28 plus or minus the square root of 784 plus 260 all over negative 24. So we're going to end up with 28 plus or minus the square root of 2944 all over negative 24. So this is going to be 28 plus or minus 8 square root of 46 all over 24 negative. So you can factor a 4 out of everything. So it's going to end up being 7 plus or minus 2 square root of 46 all over -6. So that's as much of a solution as we can get with systems of equations. So again, in this video, we looked at the quadratic formula, how to use it, and started to look at solving quadratics as systems of equations with some practice problems on that.